Meditators. The question is not if we acquire psychic abilities, but rather how. As a child, not only was I sickly, but I was also a sci-fi and fantasy geek. So of course I love the trope of psychic as hero. And if it was written through the lens of neo-noir, chef's kiss. Now, every hero has an origin story, explicit or implied. And so, as a child, and I dreamt of the active acquisition of those powers. Later in life, I learned how that was the path of Yang, of the Sith, and how it was antithetical to both peace and fulfillment. Now that I'm an older fellow of 50 and 8, closer to 50 and 9 than 50 of 8, I have learned that there could be value in traversing a more circuitous path. The gentle path of yin, or of a way-seeking Jedi. Well, that's quite lovely, but how's one to do that? Simply practice the Buddha's eightfold path. Do so, and how does one do that? That's just swapping out one phrase for another. Simple. Enthusiastically practice mindfulness and meditation while beginning and ending each session by exercising wishing love. This is the sustainable path of power. Free from pride and malice. I look forward to chanting and meditating with you after approximately 30 seconds of housekeeping. This is Lama Jigme Gyatso of the Buddha Joy Meditation School. For more than 30 years, I spent more than 8 hours a day, every day, studying, practicing, mastering, and reverse engineering the teachings and techniques of each school of Buddhism, so that you would not have to. Welcome to Meditate Like a Jedi, which is made possible due to the generosity of viewers just like you. So let's return to the latest practice text, or sadhana. We're going to begin not with prayer, but with verbal recitation. Not with prayer or affirmation, but with verbal recitation whose only goal is to exercise our intention, the same way we might exercise with deep knee bends or push-ups. This opening, the opening two exercises of intention are all about right aspiration, right view, and right zeals, second, first, and sixth folds of the Buddha's eightfold path. Technically, this is known as bodhicitta and refuge. So we're going to chant two versions. The first version is rather literal, and we're going to set it to a triplet chant together. May I liberate all beings from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging, by relying on the Buddha's example, instructions, and students. Consider, if you will, these highlighted nouns. They are so useful to one's training that over the centuries they earned the metaphoric nickname of the three wish-fulfilling jewels, kind of like Aladdin's lamp. So for this version of the same idea, we're going to play with verbiage that is more concise and more figurative, and we're going to set it to a bookend chant, which is my go-to chant. Together. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. May I liberate all beings by relying on the three jewels. As children, the first bike we most likely received came with training wheels, which, although were clunky, got the job done. Similarly, this morning's first exercise of mindfulness and meditation is also going to be clunky. With each inhalation, we can silently and mentally recite the 12-syllable phrase, perceiving this very turbulent play of mind as we generate a vertical traction between our head and our tuchus. With each exhalation, we can silently and mentally recite another 12-syllable phrase, relaxing into mind's non-graspable nature, while also physically relaxing as best we can. And yes, this might seem a little bit like I'm asking you to chew bubble gum while walking a straight line, but I assure you it's quite doable. Together, let us begin. Oh, James is here. Good morning, James. It is so nice to see you. To you, I send a Yoda high five. I guess a high three. Anyway, let us begin chanting the sadhana version of the Song of Enlightenment composed in the 6th century by Yongjie Xuanzhui, translated from the Chinese into English by Red Pine, adapted and amplified by yours truly. Together. So every time you see something that is in brackets, that's what we call an amplification. That's to clarify needless confusion. Together. Do you not see apparently idle followers of the way, not actively studying, not apparently busy, not actively getting rid of delusions, not actively looking for the truth? The true nature of their ignorance is the same as their loving, aware, and laid-back Buddha nature. Their illusory empty bodies or the Dharma bodies of the mastery of awareness and release. Their Dharma body they realize does not include a graspable thing. Ooh, this is an editing opportunity. Their original nature is a primordial Buddha's mastery of awareness and release. It is as if the 5 skandhas of form, feeling, intensity, impulse, and awareness were as not graspable as clouds. Floating aimless in the sky, the 3 poisons like mere bubbles appearing then gone. It is as if the 5 skandhas of form, feeling, intensity, impulse, and awareness were as non-graspable as clouds floating aimless in the sky. The 3 poisons of hating, craving, and clinging like mere bubbles appearing then gone. Sing what is real but not persons or things. They instantly quench the fires of hell. Meanwhile, those who deceive others with lies denigrating Buddha's quick path spend countless having their tongues torn out. So this is going to be a reoccurring theme. When we read of the histories of the Buddha, real or archetypical, we learn that the Buddha had a foil, his cousin Devadatta. And so if Buddha was the archetype of yin, then Devadatta was the archetype of yang. So there's always been those who are, who think that being rigid, fearful, controlling, elitist, cryptic, competitive, and cruel is pretty awesome, while also hating anybody who chooses to be flexible, loving, laid back, egalitarian, lucid, cooperative, or kind. And as absurd as this sounds, we see this within the Buddhist world. And so this idea that there are those who are against violently positioning themselves against the rapid and effective application of the Buddha's teachings is a common theme in this text. Let's continue. Instant understanding is Tathagata meditation. Every practice and perfection is present in your body. So, Tathagata is Sanskrit for thus come one, which is one of many nicknames for the Buddha. It appears to be the favorite nickname of the author based solely upon how often he uses this phrase in his text. By the way, arguably, this is one of the most cherished texts, Shastras in the Buddhist Mahayana world. So let's continue. Instant understanding is thus come one Tathagata meditation. Every practice and perfection is present in your body. The six paths of existence look real in a dream. Once you're awake, the whole universe is gone. No punishments or blessings, nothing lost or gained. As for the heart of Nirvana, do not ask for directions. So, we do not practice out of greed for gain or fear of loss. We do not practice in a superstitious or a pseudo-intellectual manner. And this is the secret. Brace yourself for this. Because we're already wired to meditate effectively and effortlessly. We'll explore that more in just a minute or two. Regarding that unpolished discovered mirror, it is time you took a closer look. So we're taking a closer look at the preconceptions of the minions of Yang. Whoops. Well, that is weird. Okay, good old word. It gets creative, I tell you. Okay, let's try this again. Regarding that unpolished discovered mirror, it is time you took a closer look at the preconceptions of the minions of Yang. Who has no thoughts, who is not born? What truly is not born is not born. Ask a tailor's mannequin made of wood, how is the quest for Buddhahood coming? And now, we reach back to that metaphor of the training wheels, and we're going to remove one of them, reducing our contemplative exercises from 12 syllables per breath down to just 3. During our perceptive inhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, "Notice this," and during our releasing exhalation, we could silently and mentally recite, "Relaxing." So, mindfulness and meditation, which are the 7th and 8th folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path, are known by many names. And as we make our way through this text, I'll share these names so that less than savory folks will not be able to bamboozle you. For instance, an old synonym for these could be sati pasati. Now, I promised I would give you an explanation. Every time we breathe in, whether we know it or not, we access our sympathetic nervous system ensconced within the thoracic region of our spinal cord. That's the part that corresponds to our rib cage. It evolved not for active concentration, but instead to merely notice, and to do so vulnerably, passively, viscerally, and randomly. Similarly, every time we exhale, whether we know it or not, we access our parasympathetic nervous system, which is ensconced within both the lower lumbar region of the exact same spinal cord as well as the tippy top of the cervical region. And it evolved both for both physical relaxation as well as mental release. So here is the great irony. The only job of our 3-pound supercomputer between our ears during meditation is to get out of the way. And that is why we play with certain phrases, be they 12-syllable or 3-syllable or eventually 1-syllable. They help our brain to stop interfering with meditation and instead to cooperate with it to facilitate it. So let's dig in. And of course, if you've just joined us this morning, well then, arg, welcome aboard. The moment you have a specific question about Buddhist chanting, Buddhist meditation, Buddhist philosophy, or how to apply them, simply type your question in the chat window. Let go your grip on the material world. In the heart of nirvana, eat and drink your fill free from the tyranny of chasing and fleeing. Practices are ephemeral, everything experienced during or relaxing exhalation could feel as if it is empty. This is the path of the perfect enlightenment of the Buddhas. So, empty here is often misunderstood, sometimes on purpose by people who wish to manipulate you. If we explore emptiness or breathlessness or deathlessness or selflessness, literally, it's going to shove us into superstition and skullduggery. But if we explore it as something that is metaphoric, it's going to make much more sense. So allow me to do that right now. Every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we noticed during our previous inhalation could feel as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. It could feel as if it was as non-graspable as the illusion of the infinite azure sky on a bright and beautiful cloudless morn, which, although is tantalizing to the eye, is non-graspable to the hand. I spy with my little eye a question. James the Wise asks, in the Song of Enlightenment, is there a line, I've treated fame and shame the same, Should we be ashamed of ourselves for being popular? Excellent, excellent question. Excellent question. So, when I was a kid, when I was a sickly kid, often eating every form of soup you can imagine, from cans and packets, I was introduced to the concept of instant soup. Tear it open, pour it in a cup, just add water and wait, right? Well, if there's such a thing as instant soup, there's also such a thing as instant neurosis. And if someone tells you you should feel this way or you should not feel that way, that's going to make you nuttier than a shithouse rat. And we do that to ourselves. I should feel this. I shouldn't feel that. We even see that in the wonderful movie, the Academy Award-winning film, The Silence of the Lambs, when Agent Starling learns how Hannibal Lecter coerced another inmate of the asylum to swallow his own tongue because he felt that the inmate had been disrespectful to Agent Starling. And her response to her supervisor was, I'm not sure how I should feel about that. Our emotions are not a piano. Our emotions are not an 88-string piano, a guitar that we strum at our will. When we try to select our emotions, when we try to control our emotions, we are being led or coerced into the path of yang, the controlling path. Peace lies on the path of yin, the laid-back path, not where you choose your emotions or judge yourself based on your emotions, but rather where you simply notice what you're feeling and release it in harmony with the workings of our autonomic nervous system. So, in the passage where he talks about shame and fame, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, that's basically a reference to the 8 worldly desires. And basically, it's simply looking at a pushing and a pulling of the 4 bases of mindfulness. So let's take a deeper dive. What are the 4 bases of mindfulness? Simple. The circumstantial, the physical, the interpersonal, and the mental. So what is the shoving or the dread facet of each of those? That would be a hate of peril or scarcity, a hate of pain, a hate of scorn, and a hate of unimportance or obscurity. And whether we admit or not, or whether we know it or not, we are wired for that. It's part of our evolutionary makeup. Let us continue. The other side of the coin is the other side of the coin of dread is desire. The other side of the coin of pushing is pulling. So what are we wired to pull? Well, circumstantially, we're wired to pull good fortune. Physically, we're wired to pull pleasure, which of course sounds like a euphemism for junior high. Interpersonally, we're wired to pull praise. And intellectually, we're wired to pull to ourselves some sense of importance. It's baked into us. So when the author says that he's no longer subject to those 4 dualities, he's speaking metaphorically. He doesn't mean he no longer has the capacity to experience those drives. He means that when he notices those things, he doesn't cling to them. When he notices those things during his inhalation, During the following exhalation, he's able to let go, non-neurotically, non-actively, passively, and viscerally, and effortlessly. I hope that makes sense. Let's continue. Speaking with conviction as a son of a true monk, those unable to indulge in asking questions, severing roots as one marks a Buddha, picking through the leaves and twigs of mastering minutiae is not for me. People do not notice the jewel among jewels, waiting for them and the Buddha nature's Tathagata Karma. The sixfold power is neither empty nor not. It's perfect like neither visible nor not. Purify the five roots and acquire the five abilities. Only then will you know that what cannot be measured. An image in a mirror is not hard to see, but try to grasp the moon in the water. Setting out alone, walking alone. Those who arrive take the Nirvana road. Their appearance ancient, their manner detached, ragged and gaunt, they are not noticed. Disciples without means they are called poor, poor in possessions but not in freedom. Being poor, of course, they wear him. Their practice is treasuring the jewel within. I used to pal around with the late Reverend Allen. And Reverend Allen was a funny fellow. He was a big adherent of the Pentecostal prosperity doctrine. And he took one look at Thich Nhat Hanh's monastery, and he said, now that's a successful monk. Look at this lands and these buildings and all these people attending. Now that's a monk. Then you turn to me and say, and then there's you. However, when we look at he who brought Mahamudra to China, Bodhidharma, he only had 2 students, and only one of them taught. And yet to this day, in every Chan temple and every Zen temple, you're going to find a piece of artwork depicting Bodhidharma. So, according to the wise, the test of a teacher is not their beauty or fame or wealth. It's simply the efficacy of their teachings. Let's remove the second of 2 metaphoric training wheels and reduce the length of our contemplative exercises from 3 syllables per breath down to just 1. As promised, an additional nickname for this could be dhyana. As we breathe in, we could silently and mentally recite the demonstrative pronoun this as opposed to a personal pronoun. And as we exhale, we could silently and mentally recite the monosyllabic verb ease, which functions as a synonym of relax. The priceless jewel of noticing and releasing with inexhaustible uses. It never withholds us help or response. Because noticing and releasing are just part and parcel of our inhalation and exhalation, as long as we draw breath, the Buddha's path is available to us. The 3 bodies and 4 insights are present within. The 8 freedoms and 6 powers all mark the mind. In fact, that is delightfully and illustrated in during the interview scene from Swordfish starring Hugh Jackman that came out way back in the 90s. I think it was either the late 90s or the early 2000s. Gifted people embrace it all concerning the way at once. Lesser minds who are but are not enthusiastic. Thinking about the superficialities of changing their clothes, they claim they are making progress. Let people mock another speaker of Buddha's quick path. Let them tire themselves out trying to burn the sky. Hearing their words is like tasting sweet too. I swallow and suddenly enter the inconceivable. So this is a yogic technique. So this is an augmentation of the basic practice of noticing as we breathe in and relaxing as we breathe out. When we are feeling a certain amount of turmoil, it can be difficult to practice noticing and relaxing. And instead we want to practice noticing and shoving. Get the hell away from me, ugly emotion. So a wonderful antidote is to salivate, is to swallow. So as you breathe in, allow the saliva to gather. As you exhale, swallow the saliva. Don't do this all the time, you'll exhaust yourself. But occasionally in moments of high turmoil, for some strange reason, this can help. Now, if I was a naughty man, I would say, oh, Lama Jigme is a dirty, dirty tantrika, instructing all his students to swallow. But I would not mention such a thing, for I am far too pure. In hateful words I see a chance for merit. They have become my closest advisors. Not letting ridicule make enemies of friends. I show the power of accepting that nothing is born. Know the words and know the source. Do not over-focus on the emptiness of wisdom's light of perception and cessation. The Tentai school, of which Yongjia was a student, preferred Qigong, or cessation observation, with which they viewed as sequential. So, in other words, this is the key to his meditation practice. Sadly, it has been lost. So that's why I call this proto-Zen rather than Zen. It has been lost with people just focusing on their body and hiding from their thoughts, or puzzling over riddles. This is the proto-Zen. This is what was taught and practiced by the author of this text. Let's continue. This is not something I alone have learned. Countless Buddhas have realized this too. So cessation and perception is not unique to this school of Tiantai. It was taught by the Buddha. It was taught in the Anapanasati Sutta under the heading of the 7 enlightenment factors. So this is the Buddha's core technique. The lion roars and speaks without fear. Lesser beasts hear and cower in fright. Wild elephant sees the rampaging waves. Sky dragons listen in silent rapture. Our reaction to the Buddha's quick path says more about us than it does about the path. So now that we're up to speed, together as a team, let us meditate as transformatively as Obi-Wan Kenobi upon the sands of Tatooine under the guidance of the Force Ghost of Qui-Gon Jinn. As together we practice the Great Seal. And no, I'm not referring to a stellar... I'm not referring to the aquatic mammal. I traveled great rivers, crossed mountains and streams, seeking teachers and masters to better understand meditation. Ever since taking the Cow River Road, I have discovered that life and death have no hold on me. So whenever you see something in standard font that's italicized, I've simply used a paraphrase. I've simply swapped out one word for its synonym, simply to enhance the comprehension of the participants of this live stream. So life and death have no hold on me does not mean we're not going to die. It means that we can perceive the possibilities and experience of life and death. We can feel the full spectrum of emotions concerning these things, but we can release them as we relax into our exhalation. Walking is meditation, sitting is meditation, speaking or silent, moving or still I am at peace. Even at night point I remain unmoved, even poisons cannot affect me. Once again, please take this figuratively. Before my teacher, the Buddha met Dipankara, he spent kalpas as Kshanti the ascetic. How many births, how many deaths, birth and deaths go on without end. Since I certainly realize that nothing is born, I treat fame and shame the same. So, fame and shame in this context is a reference to importance and unimportance, or the feeling of importance or the feeling of unimportance, or being treated like you're important or being treated like you're unimportant. Now, this is a survival mechanism. Consider humans. We are not the fastest. We are not the strongest. We are not sharp of claw. We are not long of fang. But we have survived. Primarily for two reasons. Because we have big old heads and we can cooperate. Our cooperation is crucial for our survival. Within a tribe or a herd or a pack, the mammal who receives the greatest protection, the greatest amount of nutrients, and the greatest mating opportunities are those with the greatest, for whom others feel the greatest love and hold and consider to be the most important. So, if we consider humans to be nothing more than syringes for delivering our DNA, or nothing more than robots controlled by our DNA has one goal and one goal only, to pass on our traits to the next generation. Therefore, from a DNA point of view, from a genetics point of view, being esteemed and valued is crucial to increasing the probability of that happening. So the very fact that we have these impulses to be loved and these impulses to be valued is not because we believe in a self. It's not because we fail to understand the philosophy of emptiness. It's not because we fail to master meditation. We are wired that way. And if anybody tells you something different, they're either lying to you or they're deeply confused and they should not be teaching. Anything we notice during our inhalation can be released during our exhalation. That's just how we're wired. Mastering this does not make us great supernatural giants. It just makes us well-adjusted adults. I moved to a mountain and found a quiet place, deep and secluded beneath tall pines. And outside a monk I enjoy sitting still, settled at least I am truly at peace. Those who are awake do not engage in manipulatively giving gifts. In a world of conditioned things, however, it is different. Giving also a good rebirth, one is still attached to form. You may as well shoot an arrow into the sky. Its momentum sped, an arrow falls back to earth, resulting in another disappointing life. Unlike inhalations, awareness and exhalations release the door to the real and unconditioned. Once you step through, you are in the Buddha realm. So the Buddha realm is a metaphor for being awake and releasing, for noticing and relaxing. Perhaps that is why the late Thich Nhat Hanh insisted that the Pure Land is now or never. Now let us practice Sutra Mahamudra. Yep, that was a fun movie, James. I think that was that's one of my favorite John Travolta movies. Ignore the twigs and look for the roots, that you love the moon and pure aquamarine. Once you grasp the switch of heading pearl of inhalations, awareness and exhalations release. It's up to you and others never ends. Moon on the river, wind in the pines. Why is the sky so clear all night? The pearl of the Buddha nature, precepts of inhalations, awareness, and exhalations release. Mark the mind, mist and cloud shroud the body. My greedy dragons of doing bold and my hateful tiger calming staff, with his two rings echoing on the trail, is not for pointing out the mundane, but for pointing out the tracks left by the Tathagata's precious staff of non-violence. Do not search for the truth and do not dismiss delusion. Realize both are empty and have no form. No form but neither empty nor not empty. That is a Tathagata's real form. Nothing obstructs a mirror of the mind, illuminating a universe of countless realms, where millions of images appear, neither inside nor outside the perfect light. Saying everything is empty, they dismiss the laws of karma. Such recklessness of relying on fear rather than love is sure to bring misfortune. Renouncing existence for emptiness is the same as jumping into a fire to escape a flood. So renouncing perception for the sake of release is a fool's stratagem or gambit. Come, let us practice Chan. I cannot emphasize this enough. On the path of Yang, they value being cryptic. On the path of Yin, they value being lucid. If your teacher speaks in riddles, without explaining things to you as lucidly as possible, find a better teacher. Letting delusions go and grasping the truth. A letting go, grasping mind as a master of disguise. So, what we're referring here is disguising aversion for wisdom. Students unaware who take this for their only practice mistake a thief for their child. Reducing your Dharma wealth or cancelling your merit invariably results from discriminations of the mind. That is why in meditation we set the mind aside. We use the power instead of accepting that nothing is born. How do we set the mind aside? Simple. With every time we relax into our exhalation, whatever we notice during our previous in-breath, whatever perception, emotion, intention, thought, memory, or imagining we experienced during our in-breath, we're now able to experience as if it was as non-graspable as a vast empty void. In essence, noticing and releasing. The great Bodhisattva mantra Shri holding the figurative sword of wisdom, with his wisdom Prajna blade and indestructible diamond-like Vajra flames. Not only did he cut through the mind of heretics, he first ended Mata's brazen ways. He transcended the tyranny of his own thoughts. He shook the Dharma thunder and beat his Dharma drum. He spread clouds of compassion and showers of sweet dew. The trampling of elephants covered the world with moisture. Whatever the path or lineage, everyone woke up despite the elitism of sectarianism. Naturally occurring Himalayan butter with nothing added. It alone produces my favorite ghee. The nature that pervades all nature. The Dharma that includes all dharmas. So, in other words, the teaching that includes all phenomena. A single moon is reflected in every drop of water. Within every water drop is held a single moon. Every Buddha's Dharma body is my nature. My nature is one with every Tathagata. Come, let us practice Proto-Zen. At every stage, all sages are present, but not in formal mind and not in what you do. Snap your fingers and countless Dharma doors appear. 3 kalpas go by in an instant. As for all statements being no statements, that means nothing to this enlightened nature of mind. This is important. Pseudo-spiritual double talk does not a Buddha make. It cannot be slandered and it cannot be praised. Like space, it has no boundaries. It is never not present and always clear, but actively look and you cannot see it. You cannot grasp it and you cannot actively let it go. When you cannot find it, that is when you will find it. It speaks when it is silent when it speaks. When the gate of gifts opens, nothing stands in its way. People ask what is the source of my understanding, I tell them. The power of the great wisdom that comes from inhalations, awareness, and exhalations, release. If it is right or wrong, nobody knows. If it makes sense or not, even the gods cannot tell. I have been practicing this for kalpas, and not just to make people confused. Flying the Dharma flag, announcing the school's doctrine. Clearly the Buddha's teachings is at Sao Shi. Kashyapa was the first to transmit the lamp, the first of 28 generations in the West. The Dharma traveled east and reached this land. Bodhidharma was our first patriarch, the first of 6 to wear the robe and spread the word. Those who understood later were countless. Now let us practice the Great Coalescence. We do not divine the truth, delusions already empty. We divine what is and what is not, but we do not empty emptiness. It's 20 different kinds are no concern of ours. We share the universal Tathagata nature. There's no need to get mired in minutia, even if it's polysyllabic. The mind is a sense organ and objects are its sensations. Think of them as streaks in a mirror, and light finally shining when the streaks are gone. Forget the mind and objects, it is your nature that is real. So this is what was alluded to in the very beginning of the text. Rethinking the babblings of the minions of Yang. It is an evil age and the Dharma is ending. People are not happy and lack self-control. Ignoring the sage, they prefer mistaken views. Mata becomes stronger as their hatred multiplies. Hearing about the Buddha's sudden teaching, they wish they could grind it into rubble. Wherever crabs are trapped, when the ships return to port, crabs are stored in great barrels. Whenever you witness a crab making a break for it, you will find other crabs pulling him back into the barrel. There's some crabs who hate their own captivity, but not as much as they hate someone else's freedom. The next time you're at a family event and you speak to a family member who's determined to crush your dreams, perhaps you'll remember that. What needlessly arduous path the mind creates, the body suffers or injures. No need to claim injustice or shift the blame. If you are hoping to avoid karma's endless fires, do not forsake the Tathagata's true teaching of inhalations, awareness, and exhalations, release. In a forest of nothing but sandalwood trees, where it is lush and remote lions dwell. In the sylvan wood acquired the room where they will. Other beasts, even birds, keep their distance. Lion cubs all trail behind. By the time they are 3, they can roar. Foxes who follow the Dharma king, after lifetimes of mischief, can only yap. We can go through the motions of practicing, or we can really practice. There is this technique, but there's also what we bring to the technique. If we follow the Eightfold Path and really bring enthusiasm, to what we're doing, we will excel. If we're just going through the motions for whatever motivation, it's not going to give us great results. The sudden teaching is free of sentimentality's favoritism. As long as doubts remain, arguments follow. This mountain monk is not just banging his drum. He cares who might fall into the nothing all forever trap of relying exclusively on awareness or release. If someone tells you that certain teachings are only for certain people, run away from them. They've missed the point. No or no, no, yes or not, yes. To miss by an inch is the same as 1,000 miles. Yes, and a dragon maiden suddenly became a Buddha. No one soon like Chatra fell into hell alive. I learned a lot when I was young. I read sutras and shastras and studied commentaries. The names and terms never seemed to end. Like counting grains of sand in the sea, it was such a waste of effort. Scolded by the Tathagata, what good is counting others' treasures? I realized all my efforts had been in vain. All the years I had wasted braving dust and wind. Misguided from the start by understanding wrong. I did not know how the Buddha's sudden teaching worked. Why devotees of lesser past did not see the way. Why unbelievers may be clever but not wise. They are so foolish, so stupid, pointing to the palm to explain what is real, mistaking a finger for the moon as they take that figurative statements as literal, turning objects of the senses into ghost stories as they forsake awareness and cling to release. Who does not see a thing as truly graspable as Tathagata, hence the name looking from on high. Those who understand are free of karmic burdens. Those who do not still level debts to pay. A hunger that keeps them from enjoying even a royal meal. A sickness not even a great physician can cure. To meditate despite the presence of desire is the power of prajna, and why a lotus is not burned in the fire. Yongshi committed crimes and realized nothing is born. He became a Buddha and is still one today. When the lion roars as fearless teaching, it pities confused obstinate fools who only see offenses that prevent Buddhahood. Blind to the secret the Tathagata revealed of the efficacy of awareness and release. Whoops. 2 monks were guilty of crime, so Jajupali with his firefly light. Layman Vimalakati dismissed their doubts as the sun melts the snow. Inconceivable is the power of liberation. Its uses as countless as the Ganges sands. Who would not give every possible offering, such as 10,000 ounces of gold, but even one's flesh and blood would fall short. The unsurpassed king of all dharmas, realized by more Buddhas than Ganges has grains of sand. This wish of filling jewel has This wish of filling jewel I have revealed. May all who accept it do the same. Look around, there is not a thing to be permanently grasped. There are no people, there are no Buddhas. All the worlds in the universe are like bubbles in the sea. All the sages and worthies are as fleeting as lightning. Even if an iron wheel rolled across my skull, meditation wisdom's light would still shine. Though the sun turn cold and the moon turn warm, not even an army of demons can destroy the truth. When an elephant pulls a cart up a mountain, has anyone seen a mantis block its way? Elephants do not follow rabbit trails. Enlightenment is not confined by minor rules. Do not vilify the sky when you are looking at it through a reed. If you still do not understand, this is for you. For our two final chants, let us begin by remembering the essence of all morality, the essence of all ethics, is simply the third, fourth, and fifth folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May all beings practice self-kind communication, conduct, and calmness, feel spontaneous and uncontrived. Let us conclude with the four immeasurables, which remind us of the right view and right intention of the first and second folds of the Buddha's Eightfold Path. May everyone be free from misery, may everyone be happy, may no one be separated from the happiness, may everyone have balance from the tyranny of hating, craving, and clinging free. If you feel that I have earned it, you could give this live stream a thumbs up. You could even help support this channel. In approximately 10¼ hours, I would very much like to return to lead today's evening meditation class and group practice. And if you are as geeky as me, may the Force be with you always.